welcome everyone to this virtual session held by the Asian Development Bank, organized in time for the COP26, which is happening from now to October 12th in Glasgow, in the UK. So today we are going to discuss about an eco-feminist approach to climate change. We will discuss the current status of energy in Asia, highlighting the modern day challenges and solutions. So of course, we're going to adopt a gender focused and feminist lens, as mentioned in the title of the panel. So I'm going to be your moderator for this session. Quickly, I'm Lisa Bueno. I'm French, currently living in Canada. So it's 3 a.m. in the morning for me right now. I'm a project and communication coordinator at the Regroupement Féministe du Nouveau-Brunswick, which is a feminist organization in Canada. So I'm happy now to present our speakers. I guess now we are 3, I guess. Okay. So quickly, each of you, if you can present yourself, just give a few words about you and organization, just to have an idea about who you are. So maybe we can start with Arya Manandar, if you can present yourself.
Hi, I'm Arya Manandar, and I'm the founder of Green Tech for Women, and currently I'm the World Literacy Foundation Ambassador. And I'm also UNESCO Youth Researcher at the same time, and I've been in Women Deliver for 2 years, and I'll be working with them as an advisory board for the next year also. So that's about me. I'm in Nepal right now, and I'll be the speaker of the event. Thank you.
Welcome, Arya. Next one, and Neem, if you want to present yourself.
Yes, this is Neem Krishna Manandar, and thank you for inviting me in this session. And actually, I'm the managing director of ENB Green Tech International Private Limited, and I'm in the sector of hydropower, also importing electric cars and marketing in Nepal. And besides that, I'm also in solar, hydrogen, and other energy resources.
Thank you for being here. Next one, Hannah.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me to this discussion. My name is Hannah Karlsson. I currently work for the Green Party in Uppsala in Sweden. I'm not here in the capacity of working for the Green Party. I'm here because I've been a feminist for a long time. I have worked for the women's movement in Sweden, and I've also been engaged in various student organizations working against climate change. And I am really excited about the discussions that we're going to have today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think our other speaker, Adnan, is going to join us after, I guess. So we can welcome him when he's arriving. Just maybe a heads up if his viewers are arriving in the session. So thank you so much for the presentation. First, we're going to start with the title of the panel, which is an eco-feminist approach to climate change. So first, what is eco-feminist? And Arya, you can answer that maybe. What do we mean by an eco-feminist approach?
Thank you, Lisa, for just getting right to the topic. I believe ecofeminism here means an interrelation or entwinement of gender and renewable energy. And this can be done in different innovation solutions or different innovations, ideas. And this year, this is our idea of ecofeminism. In this year, that is biogas plant. So in coming 2 years, we would be promoting biogas plant as one of the many ecofeminist solutions to climate change. Here, ecofeminism, again, I'd like to say, is the interrelation of eco-friendly initiatives and feminism. Here we tackle two most significant and important challenges in the globe at the same time, as technology and diversity must combine to accelerate progress on world's biggest challenges, from climate change to inequality to conflict and of course gender inequality. I believe ecofeminist perspective to climate change has been very much neglected and ignored till date, which is why we require young entrepreneurs, young women as all of us to come up and stand for our perspective and our take on climate change advocacy. And as we know, climate change is a social issue with unequal impacts differentiated by wealth, gender, and other factors. Here, we really need to offer important opportunities for greater inclusion and equality. And in South Asia, the patriarchal system boils down to women being responsible for cooking and therefore being disproportionately affected by household air pollution caused by the inefficient burning of solid mass cooking fuels. Furthermore, the amount of time and effort collecting the traditionally used biomass fuels a physically draining task that can take up to 20 or more hours per week. So the burning of solid mass fuels in household kitchen is a significant environment, health, and environment and health problem. Women can play a key role in efficiently and effectively overcoming this problem. On average, in a traditional household, 56.7% of the time required for fuel collection falls on women, equating to around 374 hours per year, compared to 286 hours for men. So, however, women who use biogas and clean cook stoves spend only around 305 hours on fuel collection, saving approximately 70 hours per year. To put it all simple, 70 hours per year is saved when biogas and clean cook stoves are installed. We can get into the technical details later if we have time. So I do not want to discuss about the biogas plant's technical details in the first speaker session. We can have the discussion later if someone has a query on that. And despite the success of biogas and clean cook stoves, the acceptance and availability of biogas and clean cook stove still remains a significant issue in South Asia, and gender stereotypes with respect to household tasks and responsibilities, it's still found to be prevalent, and cooking is almost entirely carried out by women in rural areas in South Asia, requiring on average of about 4 hours a day for cooking using fodder. And collection of firewood is another chapter of their lives. Every day they have to go searching for firewood, and most importantly, girl child is also involved in the process, which is why they end up not going to schools. Biogas plant is not only impacting the climate change that we are battling right now, it impacts the girl child education, it impacts betterment of women's lives. It actually saves women's time in order for them to learn new capacities, new trainings, new skills, for them to be women entrepreneurs, for them to have financial independence and be decision makers, not just in society and country, but first at home, at their households. So we do so by the biogas plant, because biogas plant, as we all know, requires cow dung, animal manure, or toilet waste of household can also be linked with the biogas plant. So here we turn waste into energy, and that actually saves a lot of time. That requires girl children not to go to collect firewood, but to go to schools. And then women have time and energy in order to spend their time in doing businesses, in being entrepreneurs, in selling some eco-friendly products. And that actually capacity building phase is also looked upon by Green Tech for Women, which we are working right now currently in. And this is how it impacts a lot of different sectors. And we do not aim to promote the traditional cooking style, but we do not aim to also promote the traditional gender roles. But however, when we need to respond to a rural area of Nepal or of any South Asian region, we need to give them alternative solutions and innovations that could curb the gender traditional rules out of their system, rather than just teaching them about the traditional gender rules. We need to respond in a way by providing them alternatives. And I think in generations to come, the gender inequality will be removed. And also by devising clean energy policies and clean energy inclusion of women who are educated, girl children, is something that we aim to do. We can discuss about the biogas plant's technical details later, but let me just quickly say the health problems such as asthma, chronic coughing, severe headaches and fever, eye discomfort, weakness, fatigue, strokes, and heart diseases have been affecting more than 3 million people worldwide. Mostly developing countries still depend on solid fuels, including biomass, like firewood and agricultural residues and coal to meet their basic needs. So according to the World Health Organization, indoor air pollution was linked to 4.3 million deaths globally in 2012. And out of these 4 million deaths, mostly they were women, because of course women are responsible in rural areas for household cooking over coal, firewood, and biomass stoves. So this is why I would want to start this session and by providing a highlight to what biogas plant aims to do and aims to impact. Thank you, Lisa.
That's a very good introduction directed to biogas. And that's very interesting. So we can really see that environment and gender are clearly connected, and usually women are more affected by climate change, and there is this big impact of stereotype gender roles. So now, Neem and Hannah, how do you see this connection and with energy, with gender roles, and how do you include these approaches in your work? So Hannah, maybe if you want to talk about it a little bit.
Yes, and thank you, Arya, for that very nice explanation about how everything is connected. I think it's very clear. I am from Sweden, so my context is more of a Swedish context. And but first of all, I would like to start by why is this topic important? It is important because energy is at the heart of the solution of climate change. And as we know, climate change is mostly affecting women and children. So this is definitely a feminist cause. And I also agree with Arya that I'm sometimes sad that this gender perspective is not included in the discussions. And in Sweden currently, we are facing super high electricity prices. We are going into November, which means that many households need extra electricity to be able to, to not freeze and to have the lights, because we are in a cold and a dark period. And in 1 year, the electricity prices have risen by 84%. And who are the people who will be mostly affected by this? So high energy prices is regressive, meaning that it's households with like a lower income that be mostly affected. They will have to spend a larger share of their income on it. And my analysis is that this will definitely impact women, since women still have lower salaries than men, and especially elderly women have pensions that are much lower than men. They have about 70% compared to the men. And a problem that we're also facing in Sweden is male violence against women, meaning that having your own finances is a way to get out of an abusive relationship. And currently there are about 1 of every 4 women who wants to get a divorce cannot do that because of not having the financial means to do so. So maybe it's a long stretch, but all of this is connected. So for me, this is a feminist issue, that we need to have clean, affordable energy so that women can afford to buy it, but also that it's not affecting women everywhere in the world. And another issue that I just want to mention briefly is also that for 2020, the electricity production in Sweden was 45% hydroelectric, so that is from water, 30% nuclear power plants, and those are about to be on the move to move away from that. And we had, wait, I'll just check my source, 0.5% solar energy and 17% wind energy. So there's like a huge opportunity there to go towards more cleaner energy. But the problem is also that we need to store energy, because if the weather is bad, it's the electricity will not come at the same time. So it's a very volatile sector, the bad weather. And many people talk about batteries as a solution, and I think we'll maybe discuss that later as well. And batteries can be used for cars, for wind power mills, etc. But the problem is also how we produce them. Yesterday I had a talk with a friend who works for a startup that is looking into how can we make sure that the batteries are lasting longer? Because now the production of these batteries is much involved with child labor to get the right factories to produce them. And I think this is also like something we need to consider, that we move to clean energy, that we consider the whole chain of from the start to the finish. And another problem that we discussed yesterday is also that what I'm also liking about this women in tech is that there is also a lack of women in this technical field. So that would also be important in order to solve the climate change. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's because usually most of the people, they don't really see the connection between environment, climate change, and gender, but it's really important. So that's why we need to focus also on this aspect if you want to tackle climate change during the COP26. Just going to mention that we have Adnan Khan, who is arrived in a session. So really welcome. He's a chargé d'affaires at the Embassy of Pakistan to Nepal. So welcome. Just to summarize, Mr. Khan, we were talking about the eco-feminist approach to climate change, how it's important to link the two aspects. Yeah, I'm going to give the speech to Neem. If you want also to give us your opinion on this connection and your approach of the gender impact on the environment in your organization and your projects.
Thank you, Lija. Actually, the private sector has leading role to play in driving energy transition. A balance must be struck between widening access to energy, as mentioned already by our speakers. Digitalization, decarbonization, diversification, and discovery are the strategies that can underpin this process, actually. As a business person, I lived in many parts of the globe, EU, US, Africa, South Asia previously, investing in different fields and sectors, launching diesel-based vehicles, collaborating with the companies abroad. Our approach has changed now. We have traveled the world for new projects such as light energy bricks, which is opposed to the idea of traditional bricks that cause outdoor air pollution and adjust resources extensively. Here, you can find differences to our approach to climate change advocacy. As a managing director of green tech company, we have our hands on new technologies that not only impact the environment, but women and children who are particularly an important part of the society. I have had chance to collaborate with hydrogen projects, also in Taiwan, also in China. They are doing great with the hydrogen energy as well. And in their countries, they are doing hydrogen projects. I have had, and also I'm besides that, I'm also collaborating with Turkish company and German company, and I'm marketing their electromechanical parts in Nepal, and also for the development of hydropower projects in Nepal. And we have undergoing construction of 6.6 megawatt hydropower project on my one, and that is the construction is undergoing at this moment, and the completion will be in about 2 years. And just recently, we launched electric car in Nepal that has record-breaking smart feature for very first time. Our extensively work is in progress to launch and investment of electric vehicles, hydrogen power, solar in near future. Here, introspecting the idea of global climate solution only being solved at the one-to-one basis. I have started to diversify our support for projects that involve other beneficiaries as women, projects as biogas plant that impacts areas as mentioned by our speaker, Ms. Arya Manandar. Extreme weather, widespread crop failure, species extinction, and sea level rise are all aspects of our changing climate being felt by communities. families, business across the globe. Meanwhile, billions of people in developing countries lack access to the modern energy sources like electricity and natural gas, instead of relying on highly polluting fuel resources. With the global pollution forecast to rise to 9 billion by 2040, our current challenge will only become amplified. Therefore, we not only need to diversify our investment for the beneficiaries, but realize the fact that beneficiaries play a significant role in actually fighting climate change. It is not just a battlement of women's lives, saving of 305 hours of traditional cooking per year, not only achieving girl child education, curbing for the collection for the traditional cooking by girl child. Not only all these are impact areas, it is creating a better society by creating women entrepreneurs as they save time and energy from traditional cooking. I would like to reiterate the fact that I have private sector business as a private sector business person, see benefits not only in terms of monetary, but profit in terms of saving lives and saving the planet. That's why some of the largest energy companies in the world are working collaboratively in academia, regulators, governing boards to find innovative ways to support the energy transition. It all begins with integrated solutions that leverage multiplier effect of digitalization, the environmental benefits of decarbonization, the resilience afforded by diversification, and discovery of innovative new energy solutions like advanced battery technology and hydrogen. Global challenges require global solutions that only can be delivered if we, including private sector or business sector, should unite. The world deserves nothing less, but eco-feminist world battling two crucial challenges at the same time. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, that's a good conclusion to that. Thank you. So we talk a lot on renewable energies because this is one of the big issue also right now to reduce the global carbon print. So we talk about all these solutions which are more clean energy. I also have a quote from Rabia Ferouki from the International Renewable Energy Agency, the IRENA, who said, "Women's participation in the renewable energy sector is key to achieving widespread adoption of clean energy and reducing social inequality." So we have all these aspects of clean energy, reducing social equality, and gender focus. So, Mr. Khan, as you're here now, so I want to hear you about that, how government and embassies can be support for that, or how do you make this connection at the political level? I don't know if it's hearing me. It's working. Hello. I think the the connection is. Oh yeah, I think.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Welcome from my side, and thanks for providing me the opportunity. I hope I am audible. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, the connection is better now. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you for providing me the opportunity to share my point of view on the climate eco-feminist approach and the government's government policies on this Can you wait for a moment? I switch to mic. Maybe it would be better then.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, no problem. Okay. We're gonna wait a little bit, but if someone else in the if the speakers want to add something, maybe would you like to comment that? Yeah, this is all the virtual stuff, and now we're kind of used to now with this. I think yeah, now we're gonna ask like more general question, and then we will focus more on the really on other alternative and also biogas. I hope I am audible now. Let's have a try.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Just maybe wave if you are
Yes, yes. Good afternoon.
able to hear me. Just wave.
This is better.
Good
Sometimes it's
afternoon.
getting a little bit, but yeah,
Okay,
this is
thank
better.
you for. Okay, thank you for affording me this opportunity to share my views on the very important agenda of climate. Because being from Pakistan and living in Nepal, I can feel it. Both countries are at the receiving end of the climate change. Every year, there are losing their lives, their livelihood, and then glacier melting in the northern parts of Pakistan and the Himalayan region of Nepal, the high mountain region, is pretty much evident. Even India is also suffering. Yet we are not the culprits when it comes to the carbon footprint of our countries is very less. Despite less carbon footprint, I think Nepal and Pakistan, both governments, they are at the forefront of an effort to reduce the carbon footprint. Government of Pakistan has adopted massive hydropower projects, which are at this moment in tune of 13,000 megawatts of clean green energy, which will be coming online in next 5 years. Uh, if we have enough finances, it can be increased up to 22,000 megawatts till 2030. That means that almost 70 to 80% of our annual requirement will be 100% green. Yet, the developing countries' governments, they are making all efforts. There is a lack of support when it comes to sharing technology and sharing uh, necessary financial support, since the technology is proprietary of many of the developed countries. So I believe, as a part of a government of a developing country, that there has to be increased support globally. I would suggest taking a leaf out of the Dutch textbook, that when flood comes, it does not differentiate between a small and a large farmer. So similarly, climate change will not differentiate between a developed nation and a developing country or least developed nation. The island nations of Pacific, they are already bearing the brunt. Therefore, I believe the access to new ideas, technology should be made on preferential basis. The governments, I'm proud to say that government of Pakistan, they have been taking initiatives since last 7, 8 years, before even the Paris Climate Accord was signed, which is presently the benchmark for next 15 years or maybe till 2030. Our government prioritized hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles way back in 2014. They have slashed duties by 70%. The diesel vehicles, they are not utilized in personal automobiles. That I should say, the segment of cars, the smaller vehicles like SUVs, which are for personal use. So the government is putting a heavy tax on diesel fuel just to discourage the use of diesel vehicles when it comes to personal use. So these are already the measures which are in place since last 7, 8 years. Currently, the present government, which took place in 2018, they further prioritized not only uh, plantation of 10 billion trees, but also reducing the carbon projects, the solar projects. At this moment, the residential or small business solar projects, they are almost duty free. And there are government subsidies on these projects just to support clean energy and reducing carbon footprint. Moving on to the eco-feminist approach, I believe this is a very appropriate step since the female folk, they make almost 50% of the population of South Asia. Uh, Involving them means that the majority segment of the population is on board. It will not only, though it's a very small uh, segment when it comes to contribution to carbon emissions, but even that is significant in the tougher times we are seeing at this moment for achieving the reduction goals, for achieving the 1.5-degree Charlie targets. Uh, the eco-feminist approach, while involving, especially with the biogas projects, that will not only help in reducing the carbon footprint, but it will provide extra time to women to improve their skills. The time they spent in kitchens, burning cow dung, the woods, and all that, resulting into diseases and all these things, would definitely the biogas project will help in reducing all these issues. The women can work, spend time on enhancing their skills, which is necessary to improve their economic stability of their families. They can spend time with their children, training them for the future. They can spend time with small businesses, which is very common in this part of the world, like handicrafts, other things, or maybe going to jobs if they have more time. So I believe it's not only the climate agenda, but a kind of a little noble as well by providing time to the women folk. Uh, I believe governments at international level, all developing as well as developed, they should keep aside the political differences when it comes to the climate agenda, because that is hurting everyone. Few countries they are damaged more, few are less, but at some point of time, everybody will pay the price. Uh, I believe we have to put our political differences aside when it comes to this issue. As far as your comments that what is the government's approach, I see a will in Pakistan as well as in Nepal to decarbonize the economies. So we believe we are already ahead what needs to be done in this area. I see a lot of initiatives by government of Nepal for supporting electric vehicles and the subsidies and the campaigns to switch to uh, electricity when it comes to cooking, heating at the residential quarters or the small office quarters, subsidizing electricity to reduce the utilization of hydrocarbons. I think the governments of Nepal and Pakistan, they are already ahead of what needs to be done. So I do request the international community for further support so that these initiatives can be enhanced further. I would not take much time, and I would like to listen the views of other people as well on this point. Thank you for affording me
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you. You are really right. I think we really have to include all the developing countries at the table of the discussion. Like this COP26 should not be just a discussion between the US and China and Europe. We have to be really more inclusive in all the discussion. Um, yeah, so it's really relevant that you talk about the investment because we need programs, we need policies in favor in renewable energies. So when we talk about investment in capital for invest in that clean energies, how is it for biogas? Yeah, you mentioned that a little bit before. For example, in Nepal, how do you manage and do you have enough investment on this energy? How to convince investment for investing in biogas, for example?
I view it a little
Oh.
different way. Maybe you can consider it. My views are divergent. For countries like Nepal and Pakistan, the developing countries, or you may include many other countries of the region, the way to go is to have initiatives from the government side because the smaller projects, they are capital intensive. Um, Anything which needs to be done at a smaller level, residential or small office level, that is capital intensive and it is beyond the financial capacity. So these models are good, but their capital intensiveness means that they are beyond access of many, the major chunk of the population. So either they should be subsidized, which I think beyond capacity of many governments. So the way I see it, sitting in the government offices in developing countries, they are more interested in bigger projects, the hydro projects, the bigger solar parks, not the smaller ones, the windmill parks, so that the clean green energy is fed into the national grid, and from there it will be provided to the uh, common folk. However, having said this, I believe there is a lack of engagement of small and medium-sized businesses. When I say it, like banks, the industries, they can contribute through becoming energy supporters, providing to the national grids through solar systems, through net metering systems, through use of these alternative energy sources. There are high-rise buildings which can install wind power, smaller vertical axis wind power plants to utilize all the day their energy needs as well as providing to the national grids. Yes, governments, they need to bring all these medium-sized entrepreneurs, businesses, groups to this initiative that rather than becoming a burden on the national grid, they should become contributor through investments and offer they have the capacity to do this. And I believe slowly and gradually there is an appreciation. However, I still see lack of policy directives on this side when it comes to including these segments of
Mm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
the energy contributors.
well, that's true when you.
Sorry for interruption. I will point to another thing that currently the COVID-induced financial stress that is really taking the initiatives back, or if not back, they are on a standstill because of lack of financial support needed to sustain these initiatives. So that is another aspect. I believe it is
Perfect.
at this moment, till there is reasonable economic recovery, it is on the back burner for many governments because their priority is to provide for vaccines, provide to for healthcare, extended healthcare facilities in all these countries. Though these countries are not classical welfare states, but still government provides major healthcare needs. So the resources at this moment they are on the they have been diverted to address the basic needs, uh, meaning thereby that there is a kind of a slow movement on decarbonization of the economies and the energy mix.
Yeah, that's interesting when you mentioned the COVID situation. For example, Aya and Hannah, in your project and right now, do you see a difference? Is the COVID has impacted the climate change focus? How is it now?
Yes, definitely. You are asking me? Sorry.
Oh no, I'm asking Aya and Anna, but then you can answer then after if
Oh,
you want. But yeah,
sorry
it's
for
okay.
interrupting.
There is a lot to say, so it's okay.
Hannah, you'd want to go first.
No, I think you can go first, Arya. I think you had something more to say about the financial investment as well.
Talking about COVID, it's actually made the world realize that in times as global crisis as this, a lot of things have shut down. But I believe, again, when it comes to Ecofeminist project as biogas plant, yes, the construction where engineers are required, where workers are required, laborers are required, yes, that might have been slowed down a bit. But once the biogas plant have been made, or the owners who already have biogas plant, they are quite self-sufficient in times of crisis as this. For example, if tomorrow in tomorrow's day and age, nuclear power, hydropower, a lot of other things might stop because of a lot of different issues as pandemic or God forbid what may come in future. I think it is for any household in rural areas to be self-sufficient as having rainwater harvesting, biogas plant, clean cook stoves. And it's not just about being self-sufficient, as we discussed earlier, how it impacts women's health, how 4.3 million people die due to traditional cooking, smoke, indoor air pollution as reported by WHO. And we also discussed the percentage already in the first, when you asked me the question first. So I'd like to say the COVID has, of course, shut down a lot of opportunities of biogas construction. But I also would want to say that it also provided opportunity for us to realize the importance of such systems, domestic systems, household systems. As much as we neglect it, as much as we think that it's a small system, we think it's made us realize that, in order for this country and society to be stable, I think in rural areas where there is less intervention, especially in southern part of the Asia, I believe every household in rural area, when they have biogas plant or any self-sufficient technologies, I believe it lets the household go through COVID kind of a crisis. And I'd like to quickly share in your previous question that you mentioned how sustainable, or how governments can support the functioning of these kind of projects. But I'd like to mention the fact that there are provision of a bigger biogas plant as well, but we've not reached a state where we go for a future community model, as I can show in the picture right here. We are just focusing right now on the household biogas plant. And this is a household biogas plant where we feed the animal manure, waste products, grass clippings into the plant inlet. And we can see a lot of things here. We can see heat, electricity, vehicle fuel, gas grid, which vehicle fuel and gas grid is something that we've not prioritized yet. But this is, again, a household model. But this is the future model. I just wanted to quickly share because this is the future model. Where communities and governments can work in a smart city as this, where we can see coenzyme renewable resources, mixing tank treatment, agriculture use. The question that I answered before, the starting of the session as I answered before, was on how households in rural areas can be invested in, because that requires very less investment. And investors who are doing great businesses, they can at least lend 11% or 1% of their profit in just investing in household structure. But this is a bigger perspective where governments and societies and cities can look forward to. Here we have a big plant, big biogas plant, doing big, going through big processes. So this is something that I wanted to share. I'll quickly stop the share because I do not want to get into the technical details. And I'd like to quickly also say that, as we know, climate change is a social issue with unequal impacts differentiated by wealth, gender, and other factors. The ongoing energy transformation driven by renewables is bringing far-reaching systemic changes to our societies, and this offers important opportunities for greater inclusion and equality. The traditional cookstove user household spends on average around 660 hours per year, as mentioned, on firewood collection compared to 539 hours by a clean cookstove or plant user household. And for firewood collection, there is a greater involvement of women as compared to men. And on average, for a traditional cookstove user household, 56.7% of the time required for fuel collection falls on women, equating to around, I think, 374 hours per year compared to 43.3% for women and 286 hours for men. So let's not get into the details, but the conclusion of the study is approximately women who use biogas spend only 305 hours on fuel collection, saving approximately 70 hours per year. And that 70-hour saving of time and energy can be used in different entrepreneurship activities for the girl child in going to school, as mentioned already. And these activities in the society result in a better society, not just in terms of climate change, in terms of beneficiaries. And again, as Mr. Neem Krishnamana mentioned, beneficiaries, taking action for climate change. And I'd like to also, express my appreciation for Mr. Khan's perspective that the developing nations also have to take a share on how they are having the carbon footprints and help the developing countries in investment in maybe household plants like biogas, but also bigger projects like hydropower projects. As we have already mentioned, the 4.3 million deaths globally in 2012 just because of indoor air pollution, we realized the importance of biogas plant. When we have hydropower, when we have a lot of other alternative sources of energy happening, we fail to realize that our rural areas in our continent, in South Asia, people are dying there just because of indoor air pollution and traditional cooking stove. So I think there are details as such that needs to be realized in order to also explore how the people of South Asia, women of South Asia, girl child of South Asia is being limited just because of one traditional idea of cooking. And it's not just about climate change. Yes, we have a lot of solutions, but I think the solutions also needs to be inclusive. The decision-making power of women, again, from the financial independence derived from the time and energy saved, the girl child education, everything, it is just not just a byproduct of biogas plant, but I think it's a process. When biogas plant is installed, I think capacity building programs, along with encouraging the girl child to save their time now they've saved their time not to, collect firewood and go to school. So that should be encouraged. And a lot of other interventions are required along with that. But then the idea is not just the energy generation, which is free of cost or, low carbon print, but it is also to impact different areas and different sectors of our society, which are very important and crucial to us. By one step of investing in such a small project, that can be large as well. I already showed you the larger project design, but in investing in Nepal in a smaller biogas project, I think we impact a lot of different areas. And as Hannah mentioned, the participation of women in hydropower, as she mentioned, is very less, and in any alternative sector is very less. But that is because of lack of inclusive clean energy policies. And I'd love to hear from Hannah on what she has to say on the impact of COVID and inclusive clean energy policies in her experience. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, wow. I'm really impressed by all my previous speakers, but I will try to give my thoughts around this COVID question and also a bit about the financial situation, since I coming from Sweden, which is like a high income country, right? So first of all, I work for the Green Party, and there is a reason why I chose this party, because I believe it's a party that believes that we should do what we can locally, but we should also show solidarity with people all over the world. So what you do at home will affect other people. And part of that is also, Sweden is quite a large giver of aid to different projects, specifically targeting climate change. So the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency have a lot of money where different projects around the world can apply for funding to start up and to help with climate change. But what I've seen now during the COVID situation is that we had a situation in Sweden which we haven't lived through since, I would say, the Second World War, where our borders are closed to our neighbors. So before, you could easily pass the border to Norway or to Finland, there was no problem. But due to COVID, the borders were closed. And I see a shift in people's mentality that are becoming more nationalistic, more focused about we should put Sweden first, in a way, if I could use paraphrasing Donald Trump in a way. And this is also doing that a lot of other parties want to reduce the money that is given to aid for low and middle income countries to develop these kind of products. They want to keep the money within Sweden. And I see this as a huge problem, because as Mr. Khan mentioned, this is like high capital intensive products, and there should be funding from, I think, from high income countries to help for this transition, at least in the beginning. However, I also would like to mention that there are also few products in Sweden that are started by mostly students who start their own startups. And one of them is Trine, that makes individual possible to invest in different solar products around the world, mostly based in Africa, but also so there's one product in Pakistan actually. So that means that whoever who wants can invest as much money as you want in these products, and they gather. It's kind of like a crowdfunding. But the thing is also that the people invest also get some money back. So it's a way of raising capital to start this up. And when they are running and going and hopefully making profit, they will also be, their money will also be getting back to the people who invested. And I think this is like also a good model in trying to gather money as well. So I would like to mention that. But I think also what was mentioned before is that when it comes to financial reasons, I think also in Sweden, we are trying to have higher taxes on diesel fuel and stuff like this, but it's not that very, I'd say, popular. Many people are very much against it. And I think this is also like something that we need also like a mental shift in people, that how we are living our lives. But as I mentioned, I think there are some investment opportunities, but I would also like to see stronger collaboration and cooperation between countries. I think there's a lot of things that we can learn from each other. I think, as you have all mentioned before, it's so important to see the local context, especially this project in Nepal. You can really see how it benefits more. It's not only creating clean energy, it's also improving people's lives. And I think if you see this connection more, I think this would be be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's interesting to see the differences between and in the context between different countries. So now we have 5 minutes left, so it's really quick. First, Neem, do you have something to add on that? So we have 5 minutes left. So if you have something to add, Neem, you can add it now. And then I'm giving the speech to Mr. Khan. And then we finally have the question of the audience, if you're okay with that.
So you're asking me, or
yeah, if you have something to add on how in your country the development of the maybe the biogas or the renewable energies project in general, if you have the
yes.
from your experience as a business person in your organization, if you have
Actually, Nepal is the country where we suffered a few years back. We suffered the load shedding of 18 hours a day. Actually, it's a pity. Being a hydropower potential country, we are facing that problem. But then, the country, they are not very serious in developing the hydropower projects. For me, I was trying to develop one hydropower project, small project, as I mentioned you earlier. It's a 6.6 megawatt project, but the licensing procedure is so lengthy. They don't seriously take it up. And if in that situation, they should take the licensing procedure very in a fast track, so that we can develop more and more hydropower projects and then generate the electricity. And at this moment, also, the government of Nepal is not doing PPA, power purchase agreement, and Nepal Electricity Authority is not doing power purchase agreement at this moment. So it is stopping. They are stopping the power purchase agreement. That means at this moment, they don't have, the government of Nepal doesn't have enough hydropower generation, and the peak power they need is 15,000 megawatt. And currently, the country is generating only 11,000 megawatt only. There is a deficit of 3,000-4,000 megawatt that is being surplus by importing from India somehow. But in that situation, government should not, should initiate, and there should be a fast track. They should give priority to the hydropower developers. I have to say that, I have to, the policy makers, my suggestion to the policy makers, they should be prioritized to the hydropower project.
Yeah, which is a lot there, but there is definitely a lot to do. Just a quick mention, Aya, if you can share the link of your organization. It's a question from Celine. Thank you. And finally, giving the speech to Mr. Candy, something to add also on the topic.
Thank you, Lisa, for giving me opportunity. I would like to build on the comments given by Hannah, that after COVID, there is an increased nationalist approach. I would like to differ a little bit. Sweden, I know by effect, is a generous country. They are supporting many developing nations. Having said this, Sweden is one developed country, but the bigger chunk, like the Americans, Canadians, Australians, and the main players of European Union, there have been an approach of maximizing profits on the basis of this climate approach. That is, frankly speaking, hurting the developing countries. I am privy to many exchanges between governments where the collaboration stalled just because there is an attempt to maximize the profits by the developer. This is kind of a grievance of developing countries. Uh, I believe there is still a win-win situation between developing countries and developed countries. The proprietary will stay with developed countries. However, if they can take on board the universities, the smaller uh, R&D organizations, uh, so that the cost of production by utilizing cheap labor of developing countries um, that can help a long way in decarbonization, not only the developing countries, but maybe the whole world. The impact is beyond borders. Impact is not restricted to the geographical boundaries. So, being Hana being from a semi-political background of Green Party of Sweden, I would politely urge to utilize her voice to bring on board the win-win formulas so that everybody is a beneficiary. Maximizing profits may stall the good effort which is already going on. Many countries, by their own desire and will, they are moving towards decarbonization. So, helping countries like Nepal, which is, frankly speaking, many of you would be knowing, but I will repeat this information that Nepal has a capacity to generate 40 to 50,000 megawatts of clean green energy. What does it mean? It simply means that Nepal only can not only itself become a clean green country of India to reduce their carbon footprints. Now it's a reality that electricity is a daily basic need. So countries like India, China, they are forced to utilize hydrocarbons. Uh, but countries like Nepal with 50,000 megawatt of hydro potential, I am not counting at this moment the wind power and the solar potential. Uh, Similarly, Pakistan, 60, 70,000 megawatt, we can become clean green countries for our maximum energy needs. But we do need support from GCF, from bilateral arrangements, from even grouping arrangements. So, in today's gathering, I think Hana is one who is also some way connected to one of the governments. So, I would politely request to, on genuine basis, to converse about uh, supporting countries who are already moving towards decarbonization quickly. Uh, Having said this, Mr. Manandar said the PP arrangements. What I would like to mention one point, not in support, but as an observer, that purchasing power agreements, they are a tricky business, and it is not easy sometimes to work out these issues. As for governments, it becomes very difficult, especially in the poor countries, that the equipment costs a lot, the setups cost a lot, and it far outweighs the benefits. So that is one issue which I view from the other side, not from the user side, not from the business side, but from the other side, that the whole practice that sometimes far outweighs the economic sense. So that is also a problem. And previously we were discussing COVID. Simply, COVID has shrunk the pockets of many countries, almost every country. There is nobody who is immune to shrinking finances. So, priority at this moment is food, not luxury. Food, not the other way. So, this simpler example goes to governments as well. They are switching, they are tightening their belts, they are reducing their futuristic expenditures, and they are switching, prioritizing their day-to-day needs. So that is kind of the climate initiative has taken a back step. Um, Maybe another year or so, the world economy recovers. Maybe in 2 years' time, impetus in the resources towards greener projects and decarbonization on a massive scale. At this moment, it may not be priority of even United States and China, in Sweden and Germany and France, because they are grappling with the downtrend already in place.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. We can see that this is a global issue, and we have to work all together. It's big thing, but yeah. Thank you so much. We're running out of time, but I was so happy. It was so interesting to have the different perspectives on the business, policies, startup, organization, and different countries. So last, do some in the audience have questions before ending the session? It's your time. Someone. Yes? Fahad Aider. Yes, I see your hand up.
Hi, thanks, Lisa, for giving me the opportunity. And yeah, I mean, thank you for this wonderful session. I've certainly learned a lot. I had a question. I think Arya might be the best person to answer it. It was more about like setting up these biomass plants. Like, first of all, how efficient are, biogas plants, first of all, like when it comes to, getting the output? And also, what's the capital cost of setting up one of these plants? And finally, are they scalable? So by that, I mean, can we scale them in Bhutan, India, Bangladesh, and other countries as well? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fahad, for your question. That's a very important question, and I'll be very honest. There are different models of biogas, and I'm focusing particularly in fixed model, but I won't say all the models are feasible everywhere, because in mountain regions in Nepal, in India, in Pakistan, we share lofty mountain range. And in mountain regions, what we require is a different model of biogas plant, because previous models failed to perform well. It is because the decomposition is very slow in mountain range because of the temperature drop drastically in the night and in early morning. So when it comes to introspecting if the biogas plant is feasible or not, we need to also realize that there are different biogas plant models. So my plant might not be feasible in mountain regions of Nepal, but it might be feasible and it might do really great in high temperature zones, in plain, in Tarai regions of Nepal, and even Pakistan and India, where temperature is very high. But in the mountain region, maybe not. But the mountain region plant might not be that feasible in other areas. So here we have a different model and different feasibility areas for each model. And when it comes to the feasibility as well, I feel that when it comes to putting the animal manure, waste, and biogas in the biogas inlet, we really have to be very careful not to put any stone granules, not to put any plastic, not to put wood, or not to put any metal particles in the plant. And when it comes to those kind of filtering, maybe it does affect the feasibility of the plant, because the people, they would not want to take extra time in order to filter their waste product, filter their grass clippings out of all the metal particles, soil granules, and all of that. And particularly, I have also introspected a lot in biogas plant, and I also feel that sometimes it also adds to the burden of women or population on having to stir the plant time and again, and also using the slurry products. But then when I also studied the survey results from IRENA and BSP Nepal and Alternative Energy Promotion Nepal, then I realized the fact that the poverty and hunger that's been affecting rural areas of Nepal and rural areas of South Asia, that has actually gone down just because of installation of biogas plant, because the slurry can be used in fish farming, can be used in agriculture, and through the survey, we also realized the quality of the soil is increased. And we also realized the waste products being utilized, which is why there is less clutter in the society and environment, and it prevented harmful diseases that the rural areas societies, they always go through. And it is feasible in a way because traditional cooking is anyway happening every day. So if we utilize the cow dung, which is emitting methane, and we're utilizing we're just channelizing the waste product or anything that actually goes into the atmosphere any which way. We are just utilizing it in order to tap the energy from it. So I think the feasibility is there, but when it comes to feasibility, I cannot particularly advocate for a fixed dome model and its feasibility in mountain area region, but there are different models and each model is feasible in different area. And when it comes to cost, I think you mentioned cost as well. The cost is US $2,000 and even less than that if subsidies from the government is given. And the model, it depends on the model as well. The model in mountain region might cost US $5,000 and even less than that. But the subsidies can play a bigger role. And I'd also encourage the banking sector to provide easier loans to women and the house owners who are actually lacking the funds to go for a clean energy such as biogas plant. They are actually, limiting, or they are lessening and reducing the carbon print of the globe. So we need to encourage them. And as Mr. Khan said, the developing countries or any organization can help themselves in the globe by investing in someone else, reducing the carbon print. So one way of what I realize is I'm myself not using biogas plant in the city area, because here we are not able to have a biogas plant in our society in order to link the toilet waste, which is possible if governments and private investors, they invest in it. But I'd say when I can't do that, I'd love to invest and work for someone else doing that and provide them more opportunities and perks in order to go for it. So I think the feasibility, cost and the models, different models available. This question has been answered, Fahad. If you have any more questions, you can again ask me.
So just very quickly, what's the capacity of a $2,000 plant? Just a number.
That is actually a technical question. The capacity of 2,000 plant is a household's electricity and supply. In volts and megawatts, if I have to tell you, I'll have to share you the data later. And it also depends on how much dung and manure is poured in the plant, because and the temperature of the plant as well. So there are three factors, and I'm happy to send you the data regarding the electricity and gas produced, because for each temperature and each and the amount of dung, amount of manure, and the toilet waste of or the toilet connected to the plant, the data has varied. So the data is long and it's a table, because sometimes you might have a lot of waste products in the inlet that you want to feed, but you are not moving, you're not using the plant, and you're not moving the plant. That might be one condition. And another condition is you might have a lot of waste that you've fed into the plant, but your temperature is not supporting. So all that considered, and fixed dome model considered, not any other model, then there are variations of data, and there's a table for that. I am happy to send you that, but I also have tables for other models. So I'm happy to send you that after the session.
Okay, thank you. Is there other questions? I guess it's okay. Oh, there is a message, Arya from Fahad, to please share the data. I don't know if then you want to be in contact for that, for more information, but then you do the following. Okay, so I think we're done. Thank you so much to our speakers for this very interesting conversation. We have a lot to do for this COP26. And thank you for all for participating to the panel. Yeah, so if there is no question, we can end it up. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.